Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we are stepping into the unknown. We're going to do a complete narrative deconstruction of a genuinely fascinating fantasy story draft called Entering the Eighth Realm. We're going to break down exactly how a writer builds an immersive, deeply mysterious world entirely from scratch. You know, how an ordinary, boring setting completely shifts into this staggering realm of magic, and how the fundamental rules of reality get totally rewritten in just a couple of paragraphs. If you're a fan of world building, you are absolutely going to love this one. Let's just jump right into the magic, shall we?
All right, Section 1, The Mystery of the Grandfather's Needle. Let's look at the ordinary object that kicks off this whole fantastical journey.
Okay, let's dive into this. Every truly great fantasy needs a catalyst, right? Something to bridge the mundane world and the extraordinary one. And here, it all starts with a super cryptic diary entry left by the main character, Arka's grandfather. It just says, "Find the gap when the world sleeps." I mean, talk about a hook. This single mysterious sentence is the engine that drives the whole plot. It hands our protagonist a specific condition, midnight when the world's asleep, and a very specific goal, finding this elusive gap. It instantly builds so much anticipation for both Arka and us as the readers.
So where exactly is that gap? Well, it's hidden in a pretty unexpected object. We get this massive visual contrast. On the outside, it's literally just a 10-centimeter rusty needle lying on a dusty floor. It's old, it's decaying, nothing special, right? But when Arka looks closer at the eye of the needle, it's not just a normal see-through hole. Inside, there is this swirling silvery light hiding out, and it's described as being as smooth as silk thread. The author uses this incredibly stark contrast, the decaying rusty metal versus the silky swirling silver light, to signal that this perfectly ordinary object contains something massively powerful. In fact, it emits these strange vibrations that literally make Arka's hair stand on end.
Moving on to Section 2, The Mechanics of Piercing Spacetime. Let's talk about the actual physics, or lack thereof, of shifting dimensions.
So the clock strikes 12. The grandfather's condition is finally met, and this is where the explainer really shifts to the intense, visceral sensory mechanics of moving between dimensions. I absolutely love how the author maps this out. It's not a gentle transition at all. Step 1, Arka stares directly into the needle's eye exactly at midnight. Step 2, the entire room begins to spin and gravity just completely collapses. Step 3, he feels his own body shrinking, being forcibly sucked by this invisible thread, squeezed through an impossible gap, and actually piercing through a solid wall of time. The text makes it perfectly clear that earthly logic and physics just cease to apply here. This isn't some casual stroll through a magical wardrobe. It is a terrifying physical collapse of reality itself. He is quite literally threading the needle of time. It's such a dynamic sequence.
And that brings us to Section 3, Visualizing the Eighth Realm. Let's move to and see how this builds.
Okay, so Arka survives this terrifying journey, and the sudden shift in sensory details here is just masterfully done. That suffocating pressure from the portal vanishes in an instant. The very first thing Arka experiences is breathing in this impossibly pure air that instantly cools his chest. And when he finally opens his eyes, he is definitely not on the dusty floor of his grandfather's room anymore. He is stepping out onto a floating glass bridge, completely suspended in midair. The author uses this jarring transition from a dusty, claustrophobic little room to this open, pure, floating architecture to deliver an immediate sense of wonder and total relief to the reader. And when we look down from that floating glass bridge, we are hit with this stunning visual tapestry. The city of Octavia down below isn't made of stone or brick. It's constructed entirely out of crystal and light, reflecting colors that literally don't even exist back on Earth. We've got giant trees with gold leaves growing right alongside towering spires that reach up and practically touch 3 distinct moons in the night sky. And honestly, here's my absolute favorite detail. There are these vehicles shaped like flower crowns, and they fly around silently, leaving behind trailing wakes of dawn light. I mean, come on, it's such a vivid, physics-defying landscape that just completely pulls you into its own unique, beautiful aesthetic.
All right, Section 4, The Natural Laws of Octavia. Let's shift our focus to the magical rules running this new dimension.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that beautiful scenery is only half the battle when it comes to world building, right? We also need fundamental rules to govern the dimension, and we get those right away through the realm's inhabitants. Arka hears a soft voice, turns around, and finds this incredibly tall creature wearing a cloak the exact color of the night sky. And get this, its eyes reflect moving constellations. Just wow! This being looks at him and says, "You have successfully escaped the narrow gap, child of man." That one piece of dialogue instantly establishes that Arka's arrival wasn't just some random accident, it's a massive achievement. The creature is friendly, though, offering a faint smile, and steps up to act as our guide to explain exactly where Arka has just landed.
And that's when the guide drops the actual definition on us. Octavia is the 8th realm, sitting just beyond the bounds of the 7th mortal dimension. So the crucial point is the underlying physics of this place. Time here does not move forward like we're used to. Time flows sideways. And because time flows sideways, every lost imagination from Earth gets to live here eternally. It acts as this ultimate sanctuary for forgotten human creativity. I just think this is such a brilliant concept because it perfectly explains why the city looks so wildly fantastical. It is quite literally built out of immortalized human imagination. And this brilliantly illustrates the core thematic contrast of the entire story draft. On one side, you have Earth. It's characterized by dusty floors, decaying rusty metal, and this relentless forward-moving timeline that ages and destroys everything in its path. But on the other side, we have Octavia. It's defined by crystal and light architecture, impossibly pure air, and that sideways flowing time that preserves living imagination for eternity. The author has built a world that is the exact thematic opposite of the mundane, everyday reality that Arka left behind.
To totally seal the deal on this transition, Arka glances down at his palm, and the physical 10-centimeter rusty silver needle is just gone. It is literally fused with him, transforming into an ancient-looking tattoo right on his wrist. The catalyst object has become a permanent mark on his own body. And this physical transformation is huge. It symbolizes that there is absolutely no immediate going back. The transition into the 8th realm is completely final, and as the text puts it, his true adventure has really only just begun.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Evaluating the Narrative Direction. Let's look at the author's own meta-question about where this goes next.
So the source text we've been analyzing actually wraps up with a direct note from the author, a meta-question, asking for feedback on what they've created so far. They ask, does the narrative direction match the visualization of the 8th realm you imagined, or are there certain aspects, like the atmosphere of the world or the main character, that you want to adjust? It's a fantastic exercise in literary critique, isn't it? We've seen the rusty needle, the terrifying collapse of gravity, the floating glass bridge, and this whole realm of sideways time. So I want to leave you with that exact same question to ponder today. Look closely at the world building we just explored. Does this opening effectively promise the grand adventure of the 8th realm? If you were the editor of this story, what lost earthly imaginations would you add to this sideways flowing timeline? Take some time to think about it and keep exploring the mechanics of what makes a truly great story. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.